is Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right, welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. It's totally free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. Also in the description box below, I think it's maybe one of the very top links. If you want to help support my channel out, it's a link that takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then also finally, just right underneath that, there's a link that takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group darn near 365. We have over 9,500 members in this group, and it's doing simply marvelous, might I add. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right, guys. Well, hey, what can you say, guys? Ravens, 437,921 New York football. First time in football history that a team scored 1 point in the NFL. First time ever. Giants scored 1. They lost by 437,921 to 1. So, oh yeah, yep. But are you surprised? Truthfully, are you really? I'm not. I mean, that pretty much went as expected. You didn't really know exactly how things were going to go. I mean, did you say, well, Lamar's probably going to throw for 5 touchdown passes, and nah. Now we're probably going to lose another quarterback, the 18th quarterback this season. Did you think? Nah. I mean, there's a million things you can point to and look at, and this that. There's some good things. There were certainly some bad things, obviously, but it is what it is, right? The football gods have not been kind to the Giants this year, especially with the injuries. I mean, there's no team out there, that with the quarterback situations the Giants are in, there's not one team out there that would be going to the Super Bowl and winning if it was like what's going on with the Giants. Now, truthfully, some of it obviously also has to do with the fact that some of it the quarterbacks may be getting injured, hit. There's maybe running for their lives, shall we say, because their offensive line sometimes is also decimated too, right? So let's not forget about that. I mean, but there's no team out there with the injuries the Giants have that be going to the Super Bowl, So the Giants are for whatever reason, not that the Giants and the Giants were healthy, were going to a Super Bowl, but for whatever reason, the Giants are just whatever reason, the football gods above have it in for the Giants this year, apparently as they have almost every year for the past 10, 11, 12 years, and they're letting other teams, whatever reason, have good seasons, allowing them to have. I mean, they have good players, good coaches, and all that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, if the Chiefs lost both their tackles, lost Kelsey, their tight end, down to their 318 quarterback, they're not going to Super Bowl. Doesn't matter with the Eagles. Doesn't matter. They lost both their tackles. Actually, they Runyon's out, so they lost their left guard. They're on an 18,447 quarterback. They're not going anywhere. Some teams are lucky. Good for them. But I mean, as I said, also, as far as going to the Super Bowl, Giants were going to the Super Bowl. But I'm just saying, you can look at, any of the Bills, the Lions, the Vikings, the teams with, got the great records and anticipation of going to a Super Bowl. None of them would go in the Super Bowl if they got hit as bad as what the Giants are. So it is what maybe one of these years in the next 315 trillion years, maybe the football gods above will allow the Giants to maybe have a decent season with injuries. Obviously, compiling a Super Bowl winning squad is one thing, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can take the greatest teams of all, combine them all, and if every one of those players gets injured, it doesn't matter. And so, unfortunately, fortunately, thank God, we only got 3 games left in this season, and we can look forward to the off season. All right, once again, as we usually wind up doing, right? How much money do we have to spend in free agency? What free agents can we pick up? Who we might draft? That's pretty much the same old. Right? As we sit home watching, drinking and eating some Cheetos and stuff, watching the Super Bowl, watching other teams, compete for a Super Bowl. Meanwhile, while the Giants are at home once again, but. Let's go over some of this. Basically, it was a good team. Came in. They were really jonesing for a victory because they did not want to lose many more games this season. So they came in. They came off a bye. They were healthy. They needed a win. It was a get right game for them. The Giants were all banged up. As what expected happened. Right. So I got some articles here. First one is from what we got, SI.com. Talk about giving the Giants a report card, right? For the game. Offense for the first time since 1992. Now, this is a good one here, right? Giants have had 4 quarterbacks take a snap in a regular season game when starter Tommy DeVito left the game in the first half of the concussion. So we got to go back like 33 years, 32, 33 seasons. Right? We've had 4 quarterbacks. Right? Have to take a snap. Not that it mattered, the Giants managed just 236 yards of offense, averaging 3.9 yards per play. They were 2 for 12 on third downs, 7%. And of their 9 possessions, they went 3 and out on 2 and failed to record a first down on 3. Their longest play of the game was for 25 yards, Tim Boyle to Wan'Dale Robinson. We'll talk a little bit about Tim Boyle, though. The running game mustered only 55 yards on 20 carries, 2.8 yards per carry, with 1 touchdown by Devin Singletary. There were 2 drop passes. Wan'Dale and Tyrone Tracy Jr. now has 6 drops on the season. Yes, the offense is now missing 2 starting offensive linemen. Still safe, and then also Theo Johnson as well, too. Almost everyone is on the field except for a playmaking quarterback. The position continues to be the team's Achilles heel. Defense. With few exceptions, the defense had no answers to stop Lamar Jackson. It's unfair to give this unit a failing grade considering all the starters are missing. Yeah, I mean, basically, almost all the team was missing. Right? I mean, so what do you really expect? What do you really expect? Right? Dexter Lawrence, Nacho, Bobby Okereke, Tyler Nubin, Deontay Banks, Cordell Flott, Drew Phillips, all come to mind. Still, those who dressed were expected to play, and I just say that the performance resembled a preseason game more than a late season effort. There was busted coverages all over the place. Yeah, I mean, Lamar was, I think, 13 out of 14 in the first half, I think it was. I mean, 5 touchdown passes. I mean, he had like a perfect quarterback rating. And just Dane Belton and Micah McFadden combined for 25 tackles. Kudos to those guys. But many were further down the field. And why did it take Kayvon? I don't know what's going on with this man. I don't know. I hope this guy doesn't want big bucks. Took the dude 11 minutes to go in the game before I think he had an assisted tackle with 11 minutes to go in the game. Kayvon, where are you, brother? Where are you? I mean, where's all that talk about greatness and stuff like that and everything? Right? Where's that at? Man. I mean, I'm sure that I'd be shocked if the Giants don't pick up his fifth-year option, but my God, dude, where are you? I mean, come on, man. Cornerback Adoree Jackson getting the start with Banks and flat sideline. Jackson forced and recovered a fumble on the Ravens' opening drive to snuff out one of their red zone visits. And Burnsy, good old Brian Burns, got to give that man a lot of credit. Playing in pain, this, that, and the other thing, the man shows up to play. So got to give that man a lot of credit. You can say what you want about, with McKinney, right, and Saquon and all of that and everything. But Burns was, I think, a very good pickup for the Giants. Burns led the team with 5 pressures as he continues to play his heart out. Yes, he does. Despite ailing with injuries, the guy's always has had since training camp. There's always been something wrong with the guy, and all he does is show up and ball out every week. So, Mr. Burns, thank you, brother. Thank you. You're a little bit of a shining light in this season of darkness. So, Burnsy, thank you. Now, whatever you're making, was it 27, 28, 29 million? Yeah, whatever. Thank you, brother. Greatly appreciate it. Right? You're still balling out. Thank you. Ravens racked up 445 yards of offense. Special teams, this is right off for the opening kickoff. And that punt return, just another week, another series of clunkers from a special teams unit that, thanks to the problems elsewhere, on the team has been flying under the radar for its underperforming ways this season. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Gobes, I'll tell you what, I don't know. I'm not extremely impressed with his coaching this season. So with Hill's 59-yard kickoff return to open the game. We're starting the game. Here we go, baby. Woo, and they kick it off to them, and the guy just woo all the way down the field. It's like, so they started the game with Giants 37-yard line to open the game up. Added in a clunker of a punt from Jamie Gillian that traveled just 37 yards and was returned back 23 yards, aided by at least one missed tackle by Bryce Ford Wheaton. 0 punt return yards by Smith Marset, who did have 2 fair catches, and who also had the Giants' longest kickoff return of the day, 30 yards. You can't knock Smith Marset. I think he's done a really good job this year. Can't knock him. Otherwise, there's not much there regarding the Giants gaining any sort of advantage in terms of starting field position. Graham Gano had no field goal attempts, but he did make both PATs, which, if you're looking for something positive, is there. Coaching. So let me get this straight. Brian Dable got into a hissy fit when his 4th down play call failed. The play in question had Eric Gray, an obvious decoy, on the field. He then had the smallish DeVito run up the gut, a play that continues to be a head-scratcher given DeVito's size. One thing I would like to see, it would be maybe a bigger ball carrier. The only thing is with that, the one thing I hate about having a bigger ball carrier on 4th down, is that, and who's getting the ball, But we don't have anybody who, of course, nobody has a Derrick Henry, right? But, somebody, a boom or a banger, somebody you can give the ball to, you can hopefully get those 4th and 1s for you. Just a lot of. Bottom line is that you have a team that has now lost 9 straight games for the 5th time since 1976. And, of course, in 76, we lost the first 9 games of the season. We started off 0-9 before we wound up winning the game. So, all right, what else we got here? We got all kinds of stuff. Needless to say, you can, talking about the game, you can be here for about 3.5 years talking about all the negativity in the game and everything. But, Lamar was, he looked really good. But then again, I mean, he was got basically, if you want to look at it, it was like, Lamar and their offense went up basically up against like a second team defense, pretty much, right? So, and that's the result you get. You gave up 35 points. There's so many differences and disparities with what was out on the field at MetLife Stadium on another Sunday that put on display what the Giants are, what they are not, and how far they have to go to dig out of one of the deepest ruts in franchise history. Just straight up trash. You could take hours to determine why it was Ravens 35, Giants 14, and why the home team has lost 9 consecutive games, and why there are all sorts of dastardly things coursing through a team and a fan base and the airspace. Yes, another air message, right? Rising up. You all right, buddy? Rising above all else is why Lamar Jackson performed for his team, and the way those at the position employed by the Giants labored through another unsightly showing. Oh yeah, just straight up trash, absolute trash. I really, I mean, anybody who entered the game really should have just was allowed to just going for nothing. Really, I mean, that was just absolute garbage. Absolutely, to charge somebody to watch that, just absolute pathetic trash, garbage. Example of football. There's no way. You should have paid those people to go in there. Everybody who goes in gets $100. Here's $100 for you. Thanks for showing up. Here's $100 for you. Right? Of course, it is about the quarterback more than anything else. The Ravens have a great one. Giants have cycled through 4 of them this season, and the search will soon be on to find someone to lead them out of the darkness. I said, but this is the same thing. I mean, if the Ravens would be on their 4th quarterback right now, I basically have but half their defense gone. I mean, are they winning? Yeah. I mean, they might have won this game. I don't know, but but would they be? What are they? 9-5? No, of course not. They're lucky. Good for them. The Giants are not. Not that the Giants would be 9-5, but the Giants wouldn't be put in a position to be anywhere near 9-5 because obviously one, they don't have the talent, but they don't have they don't have the luck because they're just one injury after the other. Let's see. I mean, it's just all right. We got a couple others here. This one's got a bunch of good stuff in it here. This one. Notes and stats. Giants and Ravens recap. Oh yeah. Notes and statistics from the Giants' 35-14 loss. Tim Boyle has made his Giants debut, playing the final snap of the first half and the entire second half after Tommy DeVito suffered a concussion. Boyle, who first joined the Giants practice squad on November 19th and was signed to the active roster for a second time yesterday, meaning Sunday, completed 12 of 24 passes, 123 yards, a 23-yard touchdown pass to Malik Neighbors, and 1 reception. Neighbors caught the Giants' first touchdown since November 3rd. First touchdown pass, when Theo Johnson and Chris Manhurt scored on throws from Daniel Jones against Washington. In his second start of the season, DeVito hit 10 of 13 passes, 68 yards, and led the Giants on 1 touchdown drive that was aided by, about 312 Ravens penalties. It was amazing. 4 quarterbacks have thrown passes for the Giants this season: Jones, Locke, DeVito, and Boyle. This is the first time, first season in which they have since 1992 with Ken Graham, Dave Brown, Hostetler, and Sims. Neighbors continues to distinguish himself in a disappointing season. Targeted 14 times, the outstanding rookie caught 10 passes for 82 yards. It was his 3rd double-digit catch game of the season. He had 10 receptions against Washington and against Dallas. Neighbors fell short of 1 record, but put himself in position to set 2 others. He increased his season total to 90 catches, the second highest total by an NFL player in his first 12 games, and one behind Odell Beckham Jr.'s record of 91 set in 2014. Beckham and Saquon Barkley jointly hold the Giants' rookie record of 91 receptions. Neighbors, who was averaging 7.5 catches a game, needs just 2 receptions in the final few weeks to break that mark. So, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, he's going to beat the market. You know, the cool thing is let's get, he needs, I think, 99 receiving yards to get 1,000, and he needs like what 10 receptions to get 100. So let's see in the final 3 games of the season against the Falcons, that's doable. Against the Colts, that's doable, right? And even against the Eagles, you don't know what's going on with the Eagles, because you don't know, because they're going to, apparently they'll have everybody. They'll be 14-2, final game of the season. Do they need to rest their players? Going to be interesting to say. If he maintains his current pace, Neighbors will easily top Puka Nakua's NFL rookie record of 105 receptions set last season. He would become the 4th rookie wide receiver in history with 100-plus catches. Neighbors' 82 yards increased the season total to 901. That moved him past Jeremy Shockey's 894 in 2002, and into second place on the Giants rookie list. He'll never catch Beckham's 1,305 yards. But then again, Beckham had Eli Manning throwing the football. There's a difference. And Eli Manning was the only one throwing the football. We've had. I'm going to go over this here. We've had Jones, DeVito, Locke, DeVito, and Boyle. Right? We've had 5 quarterbacks throwing passes this year of necessity. Not like we put so and so in there because the Giants are winning 1,242 to nothing, or what? You know, I mean, no, we needed 5 quarterbacks out of necessity, and of course, 4 different quarterbacks, but of course, like 3 of them, we don't even know who's going to be playing on Sunday. No idea. Tyrone Tracy led the Giants with just 31 rushing yards on 10 carries. Of course, we have no offensive line. It's all banged up, Devin Singletary gained 25 yards. I mean, this reminds me of the 70s, when your top 2 leading rushers, one guy like Larry Zonka had 31 rushing yards, and Doug Kotar had 25 rushing yards to lead the team. You add it up, it's like, wow, that's 56 yards between the 2 of them. That's nothing. Well, that's the way it was back then, too. Giants sacked the Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson twice and backup Josh Johnson once. The 3 sacks were the Giants' highest total since they had 4 at Pittsburgh. Brian Burns had the first sack of Jackson and raised his season total to 8. So maybe he might get double digits, but I think he's doing a very, very good job. We have a very good front, but of course, if they're all banged up, it doesn't really matter too much, right? But I'm very disappointed in Kayvon this year. I mean, he's been MIA. I don't know if it's Bowen's system. Don't know. But Kayvon's been a huge disappointment this season. Dane Belton, who played the entire game at safety in place of Tyler Nubin, recorded his first sack of the season and the second of his career. Belton had a 14-yard sack at 2023 season finale against Philadelphia. Belton led the Giants with a career-high 14 tackles, 8 more than his previous best, and knocked down what would have been a long Jackson touchdown pass to Bateman. Micah McFadden had the Giants' 3rd sack, his career-high 3rd of the season. McFadden made 11 tackles also. Jackson threw 5 touchdown passes. Jackson completed his first 8 passes and hit on 21 of 25, 290 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating. I think that's a perfect passer rating, 154.6. Once again, no interceptions. So we still have 2 on the season. After 14 games, we have 2 interceptions. And thankfully, Dory Jackson, with the fumble recovery, or quite possibly, if we didn't stop that opening drive, it quite possibly would have been 42-14. Bateman caught touchdown passes of 49 and 20 yards, both in the second quarter. kind of helped kind of blow the game wide open. Well, not wide open, but it was 21-7, I think, at the halftime. And of course, it only got worse from there. On the game's second play, Dory Jackson forced him to recover a fumble. Anthony Jackson, the quarterback, ran for a 15-yard gain to the Giants' 12-yard line. It was the Giants' second takeaway on an opponent's opening possession of the season. Let's see. The forced fumble was the sixth of Jackson's career. Cornerback D. Williams returned a kickoff 23 yards in his Giants debut. Cool. Greg Stroman started a quarterback, his first cornerback, his first start of the season, his sixth of his 7-year career. He had 6 tackles, 5 solo. The Giants used their 7th different starting offensive line combination of the season and their 6th in the last 8 games, which is not a good thing. Once again, if other teams had to do that as well, too, they would not be in a position to win many games. But once again, that's what the Giants are cursed with every year. Injuries. Not a phenomenal, cast, but also injuries as well. Same 5 linemen started each of the first 6 games, and after that, it's been all downhill. Let's say, of course, because obviously you got the left side, right? You got Thomas and Runyon. They're gone. Injury reserve for the season. Jermaine Illuminor returned to the starting lineup at left tackle after missing the previous 2 games with the quad injury. And you're kind of wondering, how well was he? Aaron Stinney made his first start of the season in place of John Runyon, who was placed on injury reserve. It was Stinney's 18th career start, and first since he started the final 13 games of the 2023 Tampa Bay Buccaneers season. Baltimore was the first team to score more than 30 points against the Giants since Philadelphia did last season on Christmas Day. And the first to do so at MetLife Stadium since Dallas, put up the 40-burger against the Giants last season. Giants lost their 9th consecutive game. That ties the franchise single-season record set in 2019. That obviously in this week coming up against the Falcons. Falcons are fighting for their playoff lives. Of course, they beat the pathetic the Raiders. Right, so they're fighting for their lives. So that's going to be a very tough win in Atlanta, right? To beat the Falcons this week. So quite possibly the Giants will be losing their 10th game in a row. Giants fell 0-8 at MetLife Stadium, the first time in their history they've lost 8 games at home in a season. The Giants' final home game is against the Colts on December 28th or 29th. Only one Giants team, 1974, has gone winless at home, and that was 0-7 in a 14-game season. That's when they were at the Yale Bowl. There was they lost the game in 1974 in overtime to the Jets. They could have won that one against the Jets. Pete Gogolak missed the field goal. He thought it went inside, but apparently he just missed the upright by about a couple feet or so. But the Giants did have a chance to win that game in overtime. They also blew a game to the Cardinals. The Giants, I can't remember what the final score was, but they were winning 24-23, I think it was. And it was like 30 seconds to go in the game. The Giants went ahead, beat the Cardinals. Cardinals were a good team in 74. And the Giants went ahead, and for some reason they decided to squib kick the ball. They squib kicked it. The guy got it and ran it out to like the 40-yard line. And I said there was like 30 seconds to go in the game, somewhere around there. And the Cardinals completed, I think, like 2 passes. And then Jim Bachman came on the field, and as time ran out, he kicked the game-winning field goal. I think the final score was 26-24. But had the Giants tried to get a little too cute, had the Giants kicked the ball deep all the way down to the goal line and maybe try to tackle the guy around the 20, right? Maybe there's 2 completed passes that the Cardinals had for I think the 2 completed passes got like maybe 30 yards, somewhere around there, maybe 30, 35 yards. Well, I mean, if they tackled the guy around the 20, had they gotten 30, 35 yards, Jim Bachman wouldn't have came out and kicked the field goal because they just moved the goalpost to the back of the end zone, right? And so, so the Giants might have won that game as well, too. So the Giants had a couple opportunities in 74 to win home games. They just, once again, just the way this season's gone, everything's gone wrong. Well, that was the same thing in 74. Let's see. Giants inactive players included 6 who have made a combined 51 starts this season, 3 of them of cornerbacks with 25 total starts. I mean, it's like the secondary is just, Tay Banks, Cordell Flott, Drew Phillips, Bobby Okereke, Nacho, just Tyler Newman, it's absolutely just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Then I got one thing here. I got, what's going on? What's up, guys? Would that be the Cardiac Cardinals? I don't think they were the Cardiac. There was the Cardiac Browns. That was that 80? 80 or 80? Might have been 80. That might have been 80. That's when they had that pass that Brian Sipe threw in the end zone. I can't remember what the play call was, and the one dude for the Raiders jumped in front of it and caught it. That's that playoff game. Tough game with the Giants. Jackson ran. Oh yeah. What do you think the Giants are going to draft? Well, we're going to talk about that here. Talk about who the Giants might want to draft in there. We're going to do a little bit talking about that. It may not be up to them, if you know what I mean. Hang around for a little bit, and we're going to talk about that. If you see the Raiders play, it may not be up to them. So then we got this final one here. Got kudos and wet woolies. Tim Boyle time. Yes, the Giants ended up playing their 4th quarterback of the season on Sunday. See, this is from Big Blue View. He gives kudos and wet woolies and all that stuff and everything. Is this Ed Valentine? Yeah. So the banner guy, another guy, I guess they paid somebody else to drive around or fly over MetLife Stadium with another banner. I guess this time asking Mara to fire everybody. Kudos. He gave kudos to Micah McFadden. The 3rd-year linebacker continues to show impressive development. 11 tackles, a sack, and a quarterback hit. Tim Boyle. You got to give the dude some credit. We're going to talk about Tim Boyle here. We're going to talk about it. Got to give him some credit. Some, right? Tim Boyle did a nice job. As nice as could be expected. Let's see. Giants wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson said the team's wide receivers have never caught live passes from Boyle. Right? And that's something. Yeah. There's no familiarity with how he throws the ball, or he doesn't know their timing, or how they like to run their routes, or where they like the balls at, and all this stuff. Let's see. Boyle finished 12 out of 24, 123 yards and a touchdown pass. There was one here. Where we at here? Okay, so I mean, this is kind of impressive, right? Kind of. Giants their 5 longest plays of the game, right? 25-yard pass to Robinson, the 23-yard touchdown pass to Neighbors, 17-yard completion to Daniel Bellinger, a 16-yard pass to Neighbors, a 16-yard pass to Slayton. All completions by Boyle. Right? And he did that basically in the second half. Right? So, Malik Neighbors, right? Obviously he's not 100% either. Right? Because he's had the groin, he's had the hip, so he's not 100%, but he's still balling out. And his talents are not being used to the fullest. Neighbors is still being productive. He caught 10 passes and 14 targets, 82 yards, and a touchdown. He now has 90 receptions on the season, and knock on wood, well on his way to 100 receptions, and hopefully well on his way to 1,000 yards receiving. And 1,000 yards receiving, we're going to talk about a little further in our program here. Wet Willies go to Giants special teams. Gave up the 59-yard kickoff return on the opening game. Jamie Gilliam, a poor punt and a 22-yard return by Desmond King to set up Baltimore's first touchdown. A holding penalty negated a nice kickoff return by Smith Marset. Greg Dulcich committed a block in the back penalty on another kickoff return. Says here, at least Eric Gray didn't fumble, probably because he was replaced on kickoff return by D. Williams. The substitute secondary gets a wet willy. This one might be kind of unfair starting. Obviously, Tyler Newman is on the IR. None of the starting cornerbacks, were out there. Jackson completed 25 to 29 passes, 5 touchdowns. Kayvon Thibodeau, the 2022 first-round pick, didn't even crack the stat sheet until there were 11 minutes left in the game. What a freaking joke. When he assisted on a tackle. That single assisted tackle was his only contribution. As depleted as the Giants are, they need to get production from their best players. Anything. Games like this make you wonder if Thibodeau is actually one of those best players, or has he packed it in for the season too? No sense of me getting injured, right? Then we got then he has kind of these things here called Quillies. Dane Belton had 14 tackles, a sack, a tackle for a loss, a pass defense, and a quarterback hit. Belton, though, was part of the secondary that got torched by the Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. And Adoree Jackson, the veteran cornerback, stripped scrambling Jackson and recovered the fumble on Baltimore's opening drive. Again, though, he was part of a secondary that was mostly helpless to stop the Baltimore Ravens passing attack. Well, I said he was, thinking of Jim Hart for the Cardiac Cardinals. He's playing for. Oh yeah, but I know there was the cardiac. I know the Browns. I don't know. I'm not sure if the Cardinals were called the cardiac. The Browns. I think it was 1980. What they called the cardiac. I think they were called the cardiac Browns or the cardiac Kids because they had a lot of comeback, come from behinds. That was the year that the 80 was when the Raiders they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So that might have been. Let me type this in here. 1980 Cleveland Browns. I know they were called the cardiac something or other. '80. See, they were 11-5. Is that when they lost in the? Yeah, that's when they lost 14-12 to the Raiders. They were in field goal range, and Sipe throws an interception in the end zone. They won a bunch of close games. They won 27-24, 17-14, 17-14, 28-27, 27-21, 27-26, 26-21, 34-27, 20-13. They won a bunch of close games. I think they were called cardiac. That's possible with the Cardinals. They had that really good offensive line. Eric Metcalf was there. Obviously, Hart could throw the football very well. Mel Gray was a phenomenal wide receiver for him. They had a good. Their defense was not that great, but their offense could certainly put up some points. That's for sure. I know their offensive line one year. I forgot what year it was. Only gave up like 8 sacks all season long. They were really, really good. I know. What was it? 75. The year the Giants played at Shea Stadium. I think it was Brian Kelly. I think he blitzed in. I forgot what game of the season it was, but he went in. Let's see. Let's 1975. 1975 New York Giants. Oh, there we go. So when they played the Cardinals at Shea Stadium, they sacked. Okay, they lost 30. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so in 1975, the Cardinals went to Shea Stadium to play the Giants because that's where they played the Giants. That's where the Giants played their home game in 75. Was at Shea Stadium. So in the 6th game of the season, the Giants, it was Brian Kelly. It was either Hughes or Kelly. I think it was Kelly. I think blitzed in and sacked their quarterback, Jim Hart. Well, that was the first time all season Hart had been sacked. It was in the 6th game of the season. That's pretty. I mean, their offensive line was really, really good, really, really good. Well, I mean, you know, the nuts and bolts for me would have done it. Yeah. I mean, you know, the 4th down. I mean, like 18 inches. I mean, it wasn't even a yard. You know, we don't have anybody in there that can, you know, dive over the pile. I don't seem like they like to dive over the pile anymore. But we don't have a big bruiser back in there. You know, we also don't seem to have a lot of imagination going on either here. I don't know. I thought with Dable calling plays, we'd have some imagination, you know, but it just ain't there. It's just a loser of a season. I mean, you know, you can't even get like half a yard on 4th down. It's like, yeah. One of the things is that, like with Michael Schmitz, is that, you know, good, this, that, and the other thing and all and everything. But he's just like undersized, you know, and it seems like sometimes when he's, you know, maybe going up and he has to wind up, you know, outpowering or whatever. He just seems like he's just, you know, I mean, if he's going to maybe try to block somebody in space or whatever, you know, I mean, he does have the wrestling, you know, he should be able to, with angles and stuff like that and all, should be able to do a decent job. But it just seems like he's just like undersized. He's not as he should. Hopefully he keeps working on getting stronger in the off season and all and everything, because he just seems to get overpowered sometimes. Like, so I don't know if going like me, you know, trying to, you know, get a good push up front. You know, I mean, Kelsey could do that really good. He was undersized too, but it seemed like he was a lot better at it than like Michael Schmitz is. You know, I don't know if we got the horses up there to just, you know, line up and just blow people off the ball. We just don't seem to have that. But this one, I mean, I keep talking about this over and over and over. This is just like, you know, it's like, you know, this is just crazy. You know, I mean, you know, there's no team out there. You know, I mean, obviously Jones, we know what happened with him, but then, you know, then you bring DeVito in there, right? And then what happened? He gets injured. His first game, right? The forearm. So he can't make it, right? He can't continue to go on, right? So then we got to put Locke in there. And then what happens with Locke? He winds up hurting his heel, right? I think he had other things, but it's like heel. He's in a walking boot, right? So then he can't go. So we put DeVito in there again, right? And he doesn't even make it for a half. And he wants. I think Dable was talking about talking to him about a play or something like that, and he was just kind of like saw it like in DeVito's eyes. It's kind of like something ain't right here, you know. So he had him checked out. So it wasn't like he got pulled out of the game or something like that, and he got put in the tent and checked out for concussion. But no, apparently like Dable was the one who saw him, found him, you know. So then, of course, then you put Boyle in there, and obviously Drew Lock was the emergency quarterback. So I mean, I don't know what the hell would have happened, you know, if we had to put Locke out there. I mean, the guy's in a walking boot a couple of days ago, then to be out there running for his life against the. I mean, what an absolute mess. Absolute mess. I said, I mean, it's the first time since 1992 we've had 4 quarterbacks throw passes for the Giants. Yeah, in '92 that was a horrible season. That was Ray Hanley's second season, because after the '90 season, Parcells left, and then we had Hanley. I think we were 8-8. I think in '91, and then of course it just got worse in '92, and that was Hanley's last season. Yeah, and then we brought Reeves in 1993, and we rebounded in '93. We went to the playoffs and everything. You know, that was Taylor's last season. That was Phil Simms' last season. So, but you know, I mean, you got to give Boyle some credit here. Gotta give the guy some credit. Tim Boyle reflects on the Giants' debut and challenges he had to overcome. Like most backup quarterbacks, Tim Boyle knew he had to stay ready for anything just in case. Yeah. But staying ready and being ready are two very different things, especially if you're not getting reps with the receivers you'll be throwing to during the week in practice. Well, he was the backup quarterback, so the lion's shares of the first string quarterback went to Tommy Chicken cutting the Parmesan, right? He's the starter. He's the one that's starting. You know what I mean? So I mean, like after the game is over with, I mean, he like never threw passes to like Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius. I mean, so he's going on the field. You don't know how these guys run their routes. They're not. I mean, a football coming to you is a football, but quarterbacks maybe have little idiosyncrasies of how they throw the ball, how the ball comes. Some guys throw it on a line. Some guys have a little hump to it. I mean, he's never thrown to these guys before. Didn't do too bad. Considering what he was playing with, right? I consider we have no running game. Right, we're down 315 to nothing. What are you going to do? You got to throw the ball. Yeah, when you're down by 37 touchdowns, let's establish the run, and then we'll mix in some paint. No, you got to throw the ball. Right? I mean, it's no surprise, right? Oh man. This was Boyle's challenge when his number was called after starter Tommy DeVito was knocked out of the Ravens game thanks to a concussion. It's been all hands on deck just from understanding the personnel and the guys and trying to earn their respects so I could step into a position like this and command the group, Boyle said after the game. It was fun to get out there and play football again. Boyle has been on a crash course to learn the Giants playbook and revealed that he knew 99% of the offense at that point. Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult offense, too. I kind of want to learn everything as fast as possible. It's not one of those things I want to baby myself through. I want to be able to present myself in a game. Look at Dave, say Coach Brian, and say, hey, call whatever you want. I'll go out and run it well. Boyle attributes that to having played in multiple systems throughout his career. This ain't his first rodeo. It's not his first team he's been on, right? So he's also used to this kind of stuff, right? What I've learned is it's just football, and at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff. It's different terminology, but conceptually, it's a lot of the same stuff, he said. So me learning this offense is just understanding names of things and how we get lined up and what we call this route. But I've been around most of these concepts before, so the actual spacing and the feeling of it from a defensive standpoint and a scheme standpoint, I don't feel like it's too big for me. While the quarterback's final numbers don't scream elite, he finished 12 out of 24, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, while also taking 1 sack. Boyle at times threw with anticipation, something that one has been hard-pressed to find from a Giants quarterback this season. As I said, I mean, that was basically in a half. So if you doubled that, just say, right, he would have been, of course, you don't want the guy throwing the ball 48 times, right? But he would obviously, he was 50% completion percentage, which once again is not phenomenal. But it also helps if the other team, is he going to run the ball? Is he going to pass? Ooh. Like if you go in there and you maybe do a little play action, maybe turn around, maybe try to fake it to the running back, and the line freezes the linebackers for just a second. Sometimes that's all you need. But it's like, the Ravens are like, we're winning by 318 points. I don't give a rat's rear end if they run the ball. Run it. Go. We'll hang back here. You want to run it? Go. We'll run up. We'll make the tackle. The clock will keep running. And we're going to kick your ass, right? The game will be over because you're running the ball. And we're going to win. No, we're winning by 318 points. So they're going to run. They're going to pass. What are they going to? No, they know you're going to pass. Right? So he would had had he played at that rate at the whole game, right? He would have had almost 250 yards passing, right? I said once again, you don't want the guy throwing the ball 48 times, but as I said, I just read it in that last thing. He had I forgot the numbers because I'm a freaking idiot. He had a 25-yard completion, a 23, a 17, and two 16s, and that was like in one half. I mean, you're not getting that from Tommy DeVito, right? So you got to give the guy some credit. I mean, the reason, also the reason why Boyle's been on so many teams is because he's not an elite quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback, but you got to give the guy some credit, right? But it's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Tim Boyle had to get to know the Giants receivers on the field. The moment when it came, there was no heart pounding, he said. Third-string quarterback Tim Boyle got the ball for the Giants after DeVito was ruled out of the game with concussion. Drew Lock, the starter in the last two games, had been relegated to emergency third quarterback status due to a heel injury. Boyle, a former undrafted free agent who was signed with the Green Bay Packers out of Eastern Kentucky following the 2018 draft, so he's been around for quite a few years, has lived the life of a journeyman in the NFL. The Giants are Boyle's seventh team since entering the league, and he spent time with the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, the Texans, the Jets, the Dolphins, and now the Giants. So basically, it's almost like he's been around for about 7 years. So basically, every year he's been on a different team, right? But you got to get, But the thing with this, the beauty of this is that you don't know if Dable's going to be back next season, if Shane's going to be back next season, right? But I mean, everybody's writing a resume, everybody's on display. Might be like, well, Boyle, and he'd be cheap. Boyle didn't do too bad, like the game or so he was in didn't do, maybe think about bringing him back. Obviously not going to be the starter, but, maybe be a quarterback number 3. You have to think about, you got to start thinking about stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if Drew Lock's going to be back, right? If they offer a contract, he's what's it called? Exclusive rights free agent, Tommy DeVito. So if the Giants offer him a contract, he would have to sign it, right? Other than that, so it'll be interesting to see if the Giants want to bring him back or not, right? Boyle, but the life of a backup is inherently unpredictable, and he was pressed into service just before halftime against the Ravens. Boyle had never thrown a pass to the Giants' starting wide receivers prior to his 16-yard toss to Malik Neighbors on the third non-penalty play of the second half. What you saw today was my first time playing with those guys, Boyle said, so definitely a cool learning experience. Feeling the speed, the O-line, I think they really did a good job today. The O-line did a good job. The Ravens presented a lot of tough looks, especially on third down. I think our guys up front handled it really well, so kudos to our guys up front. Wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson said playing with Boyle was a unique experience. Today was definitely a whole lot different, not really catching one live pass ever from Tim. You got to go with the flow. It's the NFL. Guys got to step up, and whoever may go down over on the side, it's just like, hey, let's catch a couple passes real quick and see what this ball comes out like and go from there. Boyle knew one thing. He knew who the number one receiver was. I think when everything's equal, number one Neighbors is pretty special, he said. So always in the back of your mind as a quarterback at the Giants, you kind of always know where number one is if things would go astray. It's kind of one of those things you feel pretty good about your matchup on a 50-50 ball. The highlight of the afternoon for the Giants was Neighbors' 23-yard touchdown reception on 4th and 1. See, I mean, that's one of those things. It's kind of like, a lot of times on 4th and 1, well, let's try to pound it up front with Tommy. We couldn't even make a half a yard. I thought, it worked out good. All right, worked out good. right? But a lot of times, 4th and 1, we try to run it. Maybe we don't get it. We look like, right? We look like laughing stocks once again. But on this time, right, it was something different. The Ravens probably weren't expecting it, right? So, but I mean, it's all things considered, you got to give. Sorry, a dog's underneath my legs here. You got to give Boyle, got to give him some credit, especially never throwing passes to these wide receivers. Now, as the week goes along, DeVito's in a concussion protocol, right? So he won't be in the concussion protocol Sunday, and all of a sudden, magically Tuesday, he's okay. So, who's going to get the lion's share of the first string reps? Probably Boyle, I guess, off the bat. I'll have to wait and see how Drew Lock, how's he rebounding? I'll have to wait and see with the heel. So, but there was an article I said basically the Giants have almost no idea who's going to be the starting quarterback, because you don't know if DeVito's is he going to pass or not, concussion protocol or not, that you don't know. But you got to give some credit to Boyle. Got to credit where credit's due. Obviously, it certainly was not good. It was not good enough to pull the Giants out of out of the hole they were in. But he did a decent job. All right, let me show this here. This is there's a kind of an article there. It kind of shows when it says poor attendance hits marrow where it hurts the most. Now, I think in the article it talks about where it hurts the most, meaning, I believe I'm going to read the article, where they think it hurts the most. And if you know his father, now, I mean, the Giants, I forgot what the Giants organization is worth, $7.3 billion or something like that, whatever it is. I know the Cowboys, they're like number one in I think all the teams in the world. But if you know anything about the Maras, right, what hurts them the most is right there, the heart. The fans that means the most. It's not they don't. I mean, the fans not showing up. The money he lost maybe in the concessions because you don't have a sold out stadium. People buying $312 beers and stuff like that. Yes, he lost some money there, of course. But I mean, the money he lost there, the amount of money he's worth. Right, if the team's worth, just say $7 billion, that means he's worth $3.5 billion because he owns half of it, right? So he's worth $3.5 billion. So if he lost, say, a couple $100,000, just saying, I don't know, if he lost $500,000, okay, that's a nice chunk of change. But I mean, you're worth $3.5 billion. I mean, $500,000 hurts, but. It's the fan base. It's not the fans not showing up. That's what hurts them the most. Putting a good display on the field for the fans, right? Who keep showing up time in and time out through all this. I mean, once again, we're going through this a lot of there was the from 64 to 80, we had 2 winning seasons. It's kind of getting to about that feel. That was 18 years, right? So you figure now from 2012 to this year, and we've had 2 playoff teams. Haven't had many winning seasons either. So we're starting to get around that. I said that was 18 years there, 17, 18 years where it was 2 winning seasons back 64 to 80. And we're starting to get, that kind of a feel once again, And I know that was always that hurt Wellington a lot when we couldn't put good quality product on the field, but the fans kept showing up. It meant a lot to them. And then finally in the 80s, when they started turning around, 81, we went to the playoffs, and then and Parcells took over in 83 and 84, went to the playoffs 85 and 86. We finally won it. We kind of rewarding the fans. Because you figured we hadn't won a championship since '56. So you go from 56 to 80, 30 years without winning a championship, but the fans kept showing up in anticipation, expecting something magical to happen every year, and of course they would always get disappointed. But so for the Maras, what really hurts the most is the heart, is the fans. Not having the fans there, not being able to put a good product on the field for the fans. But there's an article here that talks about, here we go. Giants embarrassing attendance and banners hit Mara where it hurts the most. New York season has hit a new low, and the Giants fans are making their displeasure known loud and clear. 2024 season has gone about as bad as the season can possibly go for the Giants. The product on the field is miserable enough, behind arguably the worst offense in the entire league. Big Blue, and basically they averaged 14.9 points per game going into the game. They scored 14 points. So, right. Big Blue enters Week 15 at 2-11, already guaranteed to miss the playoffs for the second straight year, and the 11th time in 13 seasons since winning their Super Bowl way back in 2011. But even worse than the on-field results is just how they've unfolded. From alienating the team's best player in Saquon Barkley, the team's new best player and rookie Malik Neighbors, from one baffling Brian Dable decision after another, to GM Joe Shane's complete lack of long-term vision, it's clear that there's a huge cracks in this team's foundation that another offseason isn't going to fix. New York is in need of a total overhaul, not just a new quarterback, but a new organizational philosophy. And during their home game on Sunday against the Ravens, Giants fans made it abundantly clear that they were done supporting the team until they get it. Giants fans hate owner John Mara where it hurts the most. Giants fans have long been among the largest and the most loyal in the league, with a season ticket waiting list that numbered in the tens of thousands. But New York's incompetence over the last decade plus appears to have broken Big Blue Nation, at least if Sunday's crowd at MetLife Stadium is any indication. It's one thing for attendance to dwindle late in the lost season. This, however, is a sort of embarrassment you just hardly ever see in the NFL. Oh, yeah. There's a picture. It shows here 10 minutes before kickoff. And somebody says, haven't seen the building this empty in a long time. There's a lot of empty seats there. Oh, yeah. Yes, the team, obviously 2-12, and it was a cold and gray in the tri-state area on Sunday, but only convincing a few thousand people to sit through an NFL game is a shocking failure, one that should serve as quite the wake-up call for owner John Mara. And if that's not enough, a plane flying over the stadium ahead certainly is. According to Charlotte Carroll of The Athletic, some anonymous fans paid for a banner reading, "Mr. Mara, enough. We won't stop until you fire everyone." It's hard to disagree with that conclusion. Dable has shown that he can do decent work on the offensive side, particularly developing quarterbacks, but he falls short in just about every other aspect of being an NFL coach. Shane, meanwhile, seems to have zero clue, consistently wavering between rebuilding and contending without any clear path forward to put the organization on stable footing. Even worse, this is the third different regime to have flamed out in New York after Jerry Reese and Dave Gettleman got put on the chopping block before them. At this point, you have to wonder if the one constant through all the bad football, Mara, is the one to point the finger at. Well, but he was kind of trying to this to step back, and he let Shane pretty much do his thing. I think Mr. Mara kept always talking about he would never try to interfere or anything like that unless he thought like a person at quarterback by committee never works. Oh no. No. Oh, absolutely not. Parcells said one time, he said, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. You need to have one quarterback, and that's your quarterback. And that was one of the things that after Parcells left. I mean, I kind of would always been. I don't know if anybody's ever asked him that question, because in 1990, right? Parcells last season, obviously we won the Super Bowl. Trying to think what game of the season Phil Simms got injured. We started off, we were 10-0, and we lost to the Eagles, so we wound up 10-1. Then I think we played. Then we played. Okay, we played the 49ers, who were 10-1 as well. We lost that game 7-3. So we were 10-1. They were 10-2. We beat somebody. We were 11-2. So maybe it was in the 11th. Maybe it was in the 14th game of the season. That's when we lost. That's when we lost Simms. That's when we lost to the Bills. So we were 11-3. So the final 2-3 games of the season, we had Hostetler in there, but Hostetler took us to the playoffs, right? It would have been interesting to see had Parcells been around, right, in 1991, what he would have done, right? Who he would have started. Because Hanley started a Hostetler. So, interesting. I wonder what's, I don't know if anybody's ever asked Parcells that. In 1991, when 1991 started, who would have been the starting quarterback? Would have been Simms or would have been Hostetler? Interesting. But Hanley started Hostetler. And, Hanley was only there for 2 seasons, is what it is. But, quarterback by committee, never. Yeah. It was interesting, though, because I believe it was 1971. I think it was the year that the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. They beat the Dolphins 24-3. Interesting, that year, Tom Landry, talking about quarterback by committee, had Craig Morton, who was a Giant from 74 to 76. We traded for him, and Roger Staubach. It was like one guy was on the field running a play, and the other guy was on the sideline. So Roger Staubach would be on the sideline, and after the play was over, Tom Landry would turn to Roger Staubach and say, "Run this play." Roger Staubach would run on the field. Craig Morton would run off the field. Roger Staubach's running the play. After that play was over, Tom Landry would look at Craig Morton and go, "Okay, run this play." Craig Morton would run on the. They did that. I think it was 71. And if it was 71, it was the year they won the Super Bowl. They had a really good team that year. Really, really good team. But no, you're right. Usually quarterbacks by committee don't work out too well. But I do know it's like with Mr. Mara, hitting him in the pocket is one thing. I mean, obviously, because he lost quite a bit of money there. That you certainly could say. But the lack of the fans in the stands, that's what really hurts him the most. As I said, if you know anything about his father Wellington, the support of the fans meant so much to him, really. Yeah. I think it was 71. Yeah, I mean, it was just, and then toward the end of the season, what wound up happening was, I think they just wound up sticking with Roger. They just wound up sticking with Roger Staubach. I think it was 71, 72. I think it was 71, but I know that they did that. I mean, I think toward the end of the season, they just stuck with Roger. And he took them to the Super Bowl, and they wound up winning 24-3. But yeah, that was just crazy. It's just crazy. All right, then I mean, there's always some bright side to every season and all of that. Sometimes with with the way things are going here with the Giants, sometimes you just gotta really look. You gotta dig down deep, right? And you gotta find something good about this season. Well, one of the things you can feel kind of good about is Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors. As long as they stay healthy, they're on pace to do a feat. It's only happened in NFL history 2 other times, right? And the other 2 times that it's been done, all right, and I'll go over this in just a second here, is the other 2 teams. It's been done by two other players. Well, twice, right? I'll go over the other players. Marcus Colston, right, and Reggie Bush did it in 2006 with the Saints, but they had a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing the ball, right? Abner Haynes. What was the other dude's name? I can't remember. On there, from the Dallas Texans, who in '63 became the Kansas City Chiefs. 1960, so the 1960 Dallas Texans, Abner Haynes and I had it there. Hold on. What's the dude's name? Johnny Robinson. All right. But the 1960 Dallas Texans, who I said in '63 became the Kansas City Chiefs, were coached by a Hall of Fame coach. Right? There's no Hall of Fame players or coaches on this roster here, right? So these players that did this, I said Robinson and Haynes, Abner Haynes, were coached by Hank Stram, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame coach. But the thing, what they've done, okay, or what hopefully they're on the precipice of doing, right, is that with 3 games to go. Now you also got to give some kudos here, okay, because in 1960, the Dallas Texans who did this, they were in the AFL, but the 2 guys, Abner Haynes and Robinson, who did it, okay, were running backs. They did it in a 14-game schedule. Okay, and what is 2 rookies, right, on a team in their initial season getting 1,000 yards. It's only been done 2 other times. And I said, knock on wood, because you better knock on a lot of wood here with the Giants if you want these guys to stay healthy for the final 3 games, right? Because Malik Neighbors, I think if I remember, looked at it, has 903 yards, 901 receiving. He has 2 rushing yards. I think he's run the ball, was it 5 times? Malik Neighbors. Yeah, he's run the ball 5 times for 2 yards. Tyrone Tracy has 695 yards rushing, and he has 220 receiving yards. Okay, so he has 915 total yards. He needs 85 yards, right? 85 yards in the final 3 games. So he needs like 28 yards a game, 29 yards a game. So if he averages 30 yards a game over the next 3 games, he should. Yeah. So hopefully, in 2 games he should eclipse 1,000 yards. And you figure Tyrone Tracy wasn't even the starter in the beginning of the season, right? And you look at it, look at what these guys are doing. I mean, Malik Neighbors caught the ball from, whatever you want to say, 5 different quarterbacks, right? We had Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones, gone. Tommy DeVito, injured. Drew Lock, injured. Tommy DeVito, injured. Boyle, right? So he's, 4 different guys, but 5 different quarterbacks have been, I mean, and he still has, and he missed time with the concussion. If he didn't miss time with the concussion, he'd be over 1,000 yards already. He'd be over 100 receptions. He'd be over 1,000 yards, probably or possibly, right? I said Tyrone Tracy. He started. He's been in all. He's one of a few guys, right? He's played all 14 games, right? That's like a small miracle. He's only started 9. So the first 5 games he wasn't even the starter, right? But when there were times when he was he had some nice touchdown runs there. I'm not saying he had an 80-yard touchdown run. He had a couple of nice long touchdown runs, but also a lot of it kind of also coincided with maybe Andrew Thomas being in there as well, right? When we had maybe a healthy Illuminor, had a healthy Andrew Thomas, Van Roten, Schmitz, and healthy Runyon, right? We had the running game going, right? I mean, I said 5 of the games he didn't even start. So it was a, and you figure in those beginning games, obviously the lion's share went to Singletary. Tracy came in, but the lion's share of the carries went to Singletary. Right now, a lot of them are going to Tracy. And Singletary's a guy off the bench. So, so these guys, these 2 guys here, rookies, right, on the same team, right, both getting 1,000 yards. Now, as I said, this here is a running with the Giants, obviously. Tracy's a running back. Malik Neighbors is a receiver. The 2006 New Orleans Saints, right, Reggie Bush was a running back, and Marcus Colston was a receiver. As I said, they were, I mean, you got to give some credit here. I mean, once again, to the Giants, right? Hard to do because the Giants are, 2-12, right? The 2006 New Orleans Saints were, let me pull it down. Here we go. We're 10-6. They finished first in the NFC South. And they lost in the championship game to the Bears. But they beat the Eagles in the first round, in the divisional round, and they lost the championship. So, I mean, the Saints were a very good team that year. And, of course, that Hall of Famer Drew Brees throwing a football to him. There ain't no Hall of Famer throwing a football here to Malik Neighbors, right? There's no Hall of Famer here handing the ball off to Tyrone Tracy, right? But in 2006, Reggie Bush was a good running back, but he catch the ball too. So Reggie Bush had 565 yards rushing. He had 88 receptions, 742 receiving yards. So he had like 1,300 yards altogether. He had a very, once again, but the Saints were a good team. Hall of Fame quarterback throwing the ball. Marcus Colston had 70 receptions, 1,038 yards. Once again, Drew Brees was throwing him the football, right? So, I mean, so they had Colston at 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards, and Reggie Bush, obviously, fantastic college ball player, had about 1,300 total yards. But it said he only had 155 carries. But and he only averaged 3.6 yards a carry, but he had 88 receptions, right? Then we go to the 1960 Dallas Texans, who I said again in 1963 became the Kansas City Chiefs. Hank Stram, Hall of Fame coach Hank Stram, right, was their coach. But both of these guys were rookies, but they were both running backs. Now I said Abner Haynes had 875 rushing yards, but he had 576 receiving yards. So he had, what the heck is that? He had like 1,450 total yards. And he did that, okay, in a 14-game schedule. Very impressive. But once again, that was the AFL. The first year of the AF, first few years of the AF, they were not super duper phenomenal. They became a lot better, especially toward the end of the decade, the end of the 60s. The AFL was comparable to the NFL, right? In 1960, 61, whatever like that, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. I mean, some of those defenses were not really good defenses, so you could put up a lot of yards, especially in 1960. But so Abner Haynes was a halfback. Johnny Robinson was a halfback as well for the Dallas Texans in 1960. So both these guys, Abner Haynes was 23. Johnny Robinson was 22. So Johnny Robinson was the right halfback. He had 458 yards rushing, but he had 611 yards receiving. Add that together, he had over 1,000 yards. But once again, both those guys did it in over only a 14-game schedule. Now, the one thing that is kind of interesting, and I always put together. Where are we at? I'm gonna scroll down. I always put together, like with the Kansas City Chiefs and everything like that. I always combined the two with Len Dawson, right? Well, Len Dawson wasn't there. I mean, they didn't do much of their But when they gained yards, the Dallas Texans back in 1960, was rushing yards. Hank Strand was a very good coach. He could write up a lot of good plays and everything like that. But their quarterback then was, I never even heard of this guy, Cotton Davidson. He had a 6-6 record. He completed 47% of his passes. He threw for 2,474 yards in he started 12 games. So he averaged 200 yards passing a game. So they didn't have a phenomenal quarterback throwing the football for the 1960 Dallas Texans, but so you look around the league and this, that, and the other thing, see all these guys gaining all these yards and this and that and all that stuff and everything. And, you look at the Giants and like, man, we suck, but you can't, it's only happened, it hasn't happened yet, but these guys can stay healthy. Right? God willing, these guys can stay healthy, right? Over the course of the last 3 games, right? Tyrone Tracy Jr., right? And Malik Neighbors hopefully will accomplish something that's only happened 2 other times I can't even say NFL history because the one happened in the AFL, 1960, right? Football history. So it's pretty doggone impressive. So that goes to show you, Shane's, you look at his first 2022 and 2023 draft classes, and, he's had a hit here or so, whatever, but he's had some misses. But you got to look at this last draft class he's had between Malik Neighbors, Newman, Phillips, Theo Johnson, and Tracy, and even Murasow, maybe. But, he did a very good job with those 6 draft picks. If he can duplicate that again this coming season, that would be huge. We need another good 5 or 6 guys and start, inserted into this team without question. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, then I sort of got one more here, but you got to tip your cap to Tracy and Malik Neighbors, doing good. All right, and then. And just one more thing here. This is especially talking about the Raiders and the one question from Billy: who do you think the Giants are going to draft? The one thing is that I'll tell you, looking at the Raiders tonight, I don't know if they're ever going to win another football game. My God, But the question here is, what's worse than going 2-15? 2-15 is pretty bad, right? Well, I'll tell you, what's worse than going 2-15 would be winning a football game and going 3-14 at this point in time. Winning a football game would be worse than losing out. Now the thing is, of course, you don't want to go. Yeah, they don't go into the game. I got guys, Dable's got guys. We're going to lose today. That doesn't happen. They go into the game wanting to win and all that stuff, preparing to win and putting the guys in the best position to win and yada, yada, yada. And Detroit turning around. Oh, yeah, sure. I just feel bad for Detroit because their defense is just totally annihilated by injuries. They got so many guys injured. I know they just lost another guy. They have so many guys. That Thanksgiving Day game, if you saw that Thanksgiving Day game, it was like every other play. The Lions had another defensive. I can't stand the Eagles, and everything just seems to be lining up for the Eagles just to walk right into the Super Bowl. The 49ers got depleted by injuries. There's not a lot of really good. Obviously the Cowboys. They lost Dak. They lost their quarterback. The Lions are really, really good, but their defense is kind of like a shambles, which really helps the Eagles out. It seems like the Eagles are really, really healthy, kind of healthy. And it seems like everything's just kind of lining up just perfectly for the Eagles just almost to walk right into the Super Bowl. Man, I can't stand that. Because if the Lions had like Aiden Hutchinson and, all their other defensive players nice and healthy, things would be a little bit different. But, the Vikings still look good, but oh yeah, no, you're right. And we interviewed Campbell too, didn't we? Right? Didn't want him, but it is what it is. But I'll tell you what, man. I didn't watch the game on TV because at nighttime I'm trying to find stuff here to talk about and all that stuff and everything. But I was following on my phone, like at the ESPN app, and it shows it on the phone, like what's going on. I mean, oh my God, had 2 punts blocked, had a safety. It's like I forgot what it was. They had like, it was 10 minutes to go in the game. I think they had like 117 yards. They went up with 200 and something yards of offense. So they must have had a nice little flurry in there at the end. They did score a touchdown, and all that stuff. Anyway, yep. Yep. But see, the thing that pisses me off too is that the Eagles do it and they do well. Last year the Giants tried it and we lost. I think we lost Bellinger and we wound up losing Michael Schmitz. We tried a quarterback sneak and we like half of our team just was decimated by injuries because we tried to run a quarterback sneak. Meanwhile, other teams do it and everybody's fine. Not only do they get the first down, but everybody's healthy. We run it, we don't get the first down, and we lose half our team. It's just, I can't stand it. But with the Raiders coming up, right? They're playing the Jaguars. The thing is that the Jaguars, I mean, if Lawrence is in there, they got a quarterback, right? But I'll tell you what, I mean, I don't know if they're ever going to win another football, the Raiders, ever. I mean, oh my God. And the problem is that I'm not exactly sure, what the strength of schedule is now. The Giants were number one, had the number one pick. Because one of the questions here is from Billy is like, who do you think they're going to draft? Well, I mean, if the Raiders' strength of schedule is weaker than the Giants should be picking number 2 because I don't know if the Raiders are going to win the game. Period. I mean, the Raiders might be 2-15. You can almost maybe almost pencil them in at 2-15. I mean, it's a shame because a few weeks ago, they somehow playing against the Chiefs, they were down. What the hell were they down? 19-17 or something like that. Down by 2 points. Driving. They were in field goal range. And the quarterback fumbles the ball, fumbles the snap, right? And the Chiefs pounce on it. The game's over. It's like, that's the difference between a good team and a bad team, right? A good team gets the lucky breaks, right? And the other team loses. I think it was a quarterback snap he lost. I was like, are you kidding me? But the problem would be is that if the Giants, because the Giants' strength of schedule is, I mean, I'm just looking right now like a tankathon. Okay. If the Giants were to win a game, the Giants would go from maybe first or second to maybe 7th or 8th. And as of right now, because there's how many teams we got with 3 wins? And a lot of these teams are not very good. A lot of these teams may not win any more games. So right now, okay, here we go. They just updated it. Okay, the Raiders are number 1. Raiders have the number 1 pick. The Giants have the number 2 pick. The Raiders' strength of schedule is 538. The Giants' strength of schedule is 550. Right? So the Raiders, due to the fact that their strength of schedule is weaker than the Giants, the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. So the Giants, so the Giants might want Shador, right? But the Raiders, as of right now, the Raiders want Shador. They got him. We might be stuck with Cam. If we don't like Cam, we might have to take I don't know, Hunter or somebody, or somebody else wants Cam. Entertain some phone calls. Get yourself a bridge quarterback. Entertain some phone calls. Maybe move back. If somebody wants to trade with you, you move back. If you don't want Cam, you pick up an extra first-round pick or a couple picks or something like that. Help rebuild the roster, right? Maybe in the following year, because there'll be some quarterbacks out there, some bridge quarterbacks out there, right? And so maybe next year or whatever, you try to get a quarterback because the draft class in 2026 for quarterbacks is apparently supposed to be better than this one. I mean, there's only like 2 quarterbacks that I'm seeing that have like first. Milroe's not even a first rounder anymore. He was, but he's not anymore. Right. So you got Ward and Shador. That's it. Those are the quarterbacks, right? So if the Giants want Shador, right, and so do the Raiders as of right now, right, the Raiders got him. There's nothing you can do about it. Because I don't think you can trade with the Raiders. If the Raiders really want that guy, the Giants, can't trade with them. They're not going to trade. Right. But the thing is that the Giants' strength of schedule is unfortunately for the Giants is so tough that if the Giants were to win a game and say finish 3-14, there's how many other teams right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 other teams that have 3 wins. And the toughest strength of schedule out of those teams is the Cleveland Browns. Their strength of schedule is 525. The Giants is 550. So if the Giants were to win a football game, right, the Giants would go from 2nd to 7th, win one football game. Then you're out of the quarterback race. Forget about it. Because, because also, let's see here. There's the teams in front of the Giants, right? The Raiders need a quarterback. New England doesn't. Jacksonville doesn't. I don't know. Carolina, I don't know. They may not need a quarterback. I don't know. But Cleveland will and Tennessee probably will. Right? So the Giants go from 2nd to 7th. There's 3 teams in front of them. Just say the Browns, the Titans, and the Raiders that need quarterbacks. So you can probably pretty much forget about, Giants getting any one of those quarterbacks. They'd have to take the best player available, whoever that might want to be, and whether it's, we could use a defense. Well, we need a lot. We could use the cornerback from Michigan. Can't remember his name. If he would make it, if he would have dropped that far, I don't know if he's going to. I don't think he will, but he would be dynamite. If there's a defensive tackle, defensive lineman, that would be fantastic. A lot. We need a lot. Really need a lot. But as I said, so the worst thing for the Giants would be if they were to win a football game. As of right now, I mean, things change. They said because there's 5 teams right now that have 3 wins. So you figure, right, if the Giants were to win a game, we'll have 3 wins. Well, there's other 5 teams that right now have 3 wins. I don't know what their schedules are and everything. But, I mean, you figure, right, see, the one thing is, right, you got to look at it, right? Jacksonville and the Raiders, they're playing each other. They're going to play a game. So one of those teams has got to win. Right? If Jacksonville winds up winning that game, Jacksonville will have 4 wins then. Right, so then the Giants, if the Giants were to win a game, instead of them going down to 7th, they would move down to 6th. Right? Who else has got? I said the Titans, the Browns, Carolina, New England. You know what I mean? I don't know what their schedules are. They might have some of them might have an easy game. There could be 2 of those teams that got to go head to head. I don't know. I do know the Raiders and Jacksonville. I think it's this week coming up. Jacksonville and the Raiders playing head to head. So I mean that might be the Raiders' maybe final chance to win a football game. But tell you what, if you followed or saw that game, I mean it's like. Because Crosby, he's out for the season. It's just an absolute freaking mess there. Absolute mess. I'd have a hard time. You got to play the games. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. I get it and all and everything. But anything can happen. But I mean, it just don't seem like the way the Raiders looked or played tonight. I said they had a safety on them. They had 2 punts blocked. Somewhere in the 4th quarter, I think it was, they had like 117 total yards of offense. They finished with over 200 somehow. I don't know. But they had 117, against the Atlanta Falcons. It's not the fearsome foursome, purple people eaters, steel curtain. It's not the 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears, 86 Giants. We're talking the 2024 Atlanta Falcons, who have like a 500 record. They had 117 yards of offense, whatever, 50 minutes into the game. Yeah, so, but I mean, if the Giants would were to win a game, I mean, they'll go from first or second or whatever. That as of right now, they would fall to seventh, and then is the one question: who do you think they're going to draft? It still depends upon where they're going to fall. Because I said, if they fall a few spots and one of those other draft needy team, quarterback needy team jumps in front of the Giants, they may not get a chance to draft either Ward or Sanders. So they might be out of the race. One of the best things for them to do might be to trade back if somebody wants to trade with the Giants. Trade back, get an extra draft pick or here or so there, whatever, to help build the roster, because that's what the Giants need. Giants need a quarterback, but they need a lot of good draft picks too, a lot of high quality draft picks to help build this roster. Because as we say, we're just an absolute total mess. So the worst thing the Giants could do would be to win a game. Now, I said this game coming up is huge for the Falcons. Are they 7-7? 7-7. Okay, they won. They were 6-7. So the Falcons are 7-7 now. So these final 3 games for the Falcons are going to be huge. It's in Atlanta. This is like a get right game for the Falcons. Oh, the Giants are, I mean, you can never overlook an opponent, right? But this would be a big game for Atlanta to win. It'll be a good game for the Giants to lose too. The interesting thing would be, obviously, is that we have, and what let's see, what are the Colts? They're 6-8. So they're still fighting for their playoff lives. I don't know who the Colts are playing this week, but if they were to win, they would be 7-8. They still might have a chance of maybe making a play. I don't know. But that would be the final chance that the Giants have. The other thing would be the final game of the season. The Eagles would be 14-2. And do they need that game to get the number 1 seed to be able to rest their player? Do they need that, or do they rest their players and they have the best thing for the Eagles to do, right, would be for them, if they want to really try to maybe possibly kind of screw the Giants over, right, is if the Eagles have the division sewn up, and whether they win or lose that final game, right? If it doesn't matter in their playoff positioning, just saying, if that would be the case, would be for them to put their 37th string players in there, pull people in off the street, get high school players, get grandmoms, grandpops, people in wheelchairs, and get them to play for the Eagles, right? And make the Giants win a football game and have the Giants fall plummet in it, right? That was something I could see the Eagles trying to do, right? Hurt the Giants draft, right? But I said that final game of the season is going to be interesting because you don't know what's going to go on with the Eagles. Had they sewn up the number 1 seed overall, they'll be 14-2 going into that game. Giants would possibly be 2-14. So it'll be interesting. But I said right now, if the Giants were to win a football game, basically because of their strength of schedule is their strength of schedule is tougher than all those other teams, the Giants would just plummet. So, and then unfortunately, it doesn't mean we can't take a quarterback maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round, but if the Giants were to win a football game right now, their chances of getting Ward or Sanders would be probably null and void. I mean, the chances would be pretty much 0. So, all right, guys, it's been 1 hour and almost 40 minutes. Holy cow. Well, whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.